This is the Making Waves podcast with Ripple Effect. My name is Dave Rowland, and I'm here with Aaron Aylward. District 6, isn't it?
District 6, yeah.
Thanks for having me, Dave.
District 6, which is Harrisburg T and Southwest Wall, just south of 57th Street, west side.
It's all in Lincoln County. Good Republican district.
Yep.
All right, well, let's jump right into this. So you're part of the Freedom Caucus.
Correct. Yep. I got elected as the chair of the Freedom Caucus. We've been established, if you will, for, going on close to a year now. We came out and announced last year at the GOP state convention, had a little get together there after the convention and made our announcement. Ever since then, we've, been trying to focus on a few things with our core principles. Just to let you know what those are when we're looking at bills, things within government. 4 things that we'd like to look at are: 1 is Scripture, the Bible; 2, the state constitution; 3, the federal constitution, and the GOP state party platform. And that's kind of our focus when we're looking at legislation, is things politics-wise.
So this is focused on less government more than more government?
Correct. Yep. The overall focus be less government there. Really, when we have a piece of legislation or a bill that comes in front of us that we're assessing, we try to take those 4 things and look at through those lines.
That can be a complicated process.
Absolutely. So when we do that, I do look at those 4 documents. If you're trying to stick to that, the automatic in my mind is it automatically goes to less government. So I was talking to an individual this morning. We kind of got into the caucus stuff a little bit. He thought that the Freedom Caucus was almost too extreme, too much of a less government thing. But I would steer people back to, well, if you're looking at those 4 guiding things that we look at, my question is it really, too extreme, too much of a less government thing? So what's it that we kind of bring those things into the picture, have people look at, okay, these are kind of our 4 guiding areas. It kind of allows them to reassess it too, and it kind of starts to click for people in ways. So
it's not just less government, you're also using biblical principle, the Constitution.
Correct. So we want to do moral and just and right things, but we just see a lot of these bills and laws that come in that's not needed, or they're unjust. So a lot of unjust words out there, for sure.
All right, you brought several bills this session. I understand 2 of them were about ESG.
Yep.
Could you tell us a little bit about ESG in case?
Absolutely. So it's still fairly new to a lot of people out there. They've never heard that acronym, what it stands for. So the ESG stands for Environmental Societal Governance. So what you'll find is a lot of it's kind of a big area of the climate change, whether it be this woke stuff that's out there. It's a way for folks that like that type of stuff, like to push that on people, what they do, if they bring that in through, we've seen a lot with the big banks, big business type of stuff. So the main bill, I had 2 bills on that, 1207 and then 1208 on the House side. They're both House bills. My favorite of those 2 is House Bill 1208. The reason being that was called an economic boycott bill. So what that would say is if, Dave, if you own ABC Bank out there, you can't, well, if you're going to have a contract with the state of South Dakota, we want to make sure that you're not discriminating against people that want to have business loans related to firearms, the Second Amendment. We want to make sure you're not discriminating on base free speech, First Amendment stuff, different types of rights out there. So the bill was geared towards, okay, banks, businesses, you can still discriminate if you want on some of this other stuff, but if you want to do business with the state of South Dakota, we want to make sure that you notify us. And if you are doing those things, we're not going to do business with you.
I see.
So that was my favorite out of the 2. Again, it was an economic boycott bill. Some of you out there may have noticed what Governor Nome just came out with, a statement with, I think, close to a dozen other governors trying to really push back on this stuff. That was good to see.
Amazing we've come to this country, and you actually have to try to legislate this stuff.
And that's right.
Not even an issue 20 years ago.
Yeah. And I talked to the Chief of Staff, Mark Miller, Government Chief of Staff, on the ESG stuff a little bit. I got pushed back on it quite a bit in committee this last session. Both those bills died in committee, but afterwards I heard people, they said, maybe this wasn't right, but I think you're on the right track here. We really need to look at this. So I think with the governor's support, some other legislators, this stuff will.
So you also did an anti-red flag bill?
Yep. So with that one, and that the thing I like about that bill, it also had a penalty on there. So it was interesting in Judiciary Committee on the House side. The week before I had that bill in there, Representative Linda Duba brought an actual red flag bill in committee, which thankfully got smashed down. It got defeated. But then I brought that bill the next week, and unfortunately mine also got defeated. It had 3 supporting votes, but got defeated in committee. And really all that bill said is if the federal government comes out with a federal mandate that it was trying to impose upon the states, or, national and the red flag law, the state of South Dakota, and it's called an anti-commandeering or a nullification type of bill. The state of South Dakota would tell the federal government, okay, federal government, you can do this, but you're not going to commandeer, you're not going to use state resources, the state of South Dakota.
Right.
We're not going to.
That's called nullification?
Yep. It's a form of state. And the nice thing is anti-commandeering, it's actually got, there's five Supreme Court cases stemming all the way back from the 1840s, which is precedent on the book and that kind of stuff. So
I'll have to look that up.
it is some good stuff out there.
Okay. And another bill you brought was to defend the guard.
Yeah. So defend the guard is an interesting one. I brought it the last 2 years, this last session as well. So 3 years total. It started in West Virginia back in 2015-16. Air Force vet Pat McGeehan brought it. And it's actually another nullification bill. So what this bill says, it's federal government, if you want to use our state National Guard, what you have to do to use them is to actually do a declaration of war, which they haven't done since World War II. Mm-hmm. They've used a lot of these AUMFs, which is Operation Military Force, which that then itself gets abused. But the thing is that the governor of South Dakota would still be able to direct, command the state National Guard the way she sees fit, because she is the commander-in-chief of South Dakota State National Guard. But the cool thing with this bill, and this also got defeated in committee, it's down in Arizona right now, about to go on the House floor in Arizona. It actually passed out of committee down there. Same thing up in Montana. But it's starting to gain some traction. I would say there's close to 25 states that brought it this year. So, ever since 2015-16, it's been, defeated, and starting to gain some traction down. Other state, like I said, Arizona.
This has a remarkable effect upon deployment overseas because the military depends upon the reserves and National Guard.
Yeah, a lot.
With a lot of stuff.
Yeah. And the thing is, and we would hear that argument, well, we won't be able to do this anymore. And it's like, well, you can. You absolutely can. We just want you to do it constitutionally. And what it really is, it's calling Congress to the table once they do your job, instead of putting up others like the president and
Blame the president.
That's right.
So, summer static nukes. That sounds very interesting. I love the idea of having more to go.
Absolutely. So this, the spearhead on this was Senator Brent Hoffman, who lives up in Hartford, District 9. Great guy. He brought this to the Senate, passed it over there, overwhelmed. I don't even know if he had no vote against it, but came to the House side. I think the House side made it 4 or 5 no votes. Not exactly sure why, but all it's doing is calling the state legislature to do a summer study on it. We see in the last number of years, Wyoming, Montana, a lot of these western states, Idaho, have really been pushing forward and advancing and bringing about nuclear energy options. Missouri is actually another recent state, with some smaller stuff. We dabbled in just a little bit in the late 60s.
Stop later.
There we go. You probably, it sounds like you know your fair share of this stuff. So, and then we just got out of it ever since then, really, from what I recall. So, I'm really hoping we're actually in a stage right now where legislators are voting on what they want to do for summer studies. As I talk to people, and Brent talked, Senator Hoffman talked to people, it seems like this one probably one of the top two. But I really think it'll get hit on over the summer, which will probably involve some traveling around, seeing some other future energy cycles.
Maybe go to Norway. They've got nuclear power there. The sweet.
Oh yeah. Yep. I'm thinking more Montana. Well, go maybe the bad. But that would be good.
Well, modern nuclear power plants, their fourth and fifth generation, are very safe and clean. I mean, they're not even possible without the meltdown.
Yeah.
So it's very interesting stuff.
Yep. I think I'd be very surprised if we started to receive kickback on this. I think it is a very popular thing. So
Very reliable, very clean. Green.
Yep. If and end up, down the road, being affordable. And we had the PUC, the Utility Commission, testify in support of this stuff as well. And we really want to try, and I don't have all the answers on this stuff. Senator Hoffman would be much, much better. But we really want to try to go down the road of how can we start to do this stuff with as minimal, we're talking about local or limited government, or now how can we do this stuff with as limited government as possible. So trying to keep that frame of mind as we pursue this stuff.
Understood. So, any closing thoughts you'd like to share with the activists of Ripple Effect?
Yeah. I'm a part of the Signal group out there, and I've talked to a number of individuals within the group. For last, what had it been, a couple of years or 3 years?
It started the group started in February 2021.
21. Okay. All right. So, I try to stay in touch with a lot of the folks in the group, and although I'm not really active in it, I do consider myself a part of it. I need to become more active in it. But I would say I'm busy. I would say this, with Patriot Ripple Effect, the grassroots folks out there, it's, we have people come to peer, we have activists come to peer involved, and we get thank yous from activists and citizens as important. It is important, but I will say this is we can have good legislators, but if we don't have a Patriot Ripple Effect, if we don't have Young Americans for Liberty, if we don't have some of these other groups out there, South Dakota Canvassing, if we don't have those people getting involved, it sure makes our job a heck of a lot harder. We continue to beat our heads against the wall. So I want to say one thing this year that's made a ton of difference is that citizen involvement, that activist involvement. Just with, the good liberty conservative minded folks, it helps with us, but it also helps, maybe those legislators that are on the fence that need a little extra pushing a certain way, or, maybe you have somebody out here that completely disagrees with you, but if they get enough pressure from folks, they start to maybe come around a little bit more. So I want to say for, the Ripple Effect folks out there, keep doing what you're doing. We'd love to see the involvement. That's one thing with the Freedom Caucus, just to bring that back around, that we've seen is, I'll just mention one bill in particular that's kind of hot right now is that HB 1193 with UCC, the commercial code, the definition of money and all that stuff. For those of you that have been involved out there, we thank you a ton. It's something that, a number of legislators have tried to bring light to, our caucus has tried to bring light to, and activists out there have responded greatly. So I hope this continues to build. The activity keeps up because, just this session, maybe we started to see some different areas where we're pushing in the right direction. So it's great and good to hear. And
Good friend. Nobody wants to go to the legislature and feel like they're alone. Just to know somebody got your back.
Yep, that helps it.
Yeah, for sure. Well, thank you for joining us. And this has been the Making Waves podcast with Ripple Effect. And we're here with Aaron Aylward, District 6.
Thank you, dude.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.